our Lime program. And Lime you can think of as kind of like a word processor for music notation. So there's print music on the screen, and those of you who can see my shared screen will see the print music. If the video is on, you can see me holding my Braille, and you can maybe see that it has Braille dots, and some of them are blinking up and down here, right?
Will you confirm visual, please?
Finger.
Yeah, so I can see the dot on the Braille note blinking.
Excellent.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so the Braille has that blinking. Now, what's cool about this is the Braille is a wonderful Braille display, but I can also use it as a keyboard, an alternative keyboard. So, so I can move through each note of the score, and now you can see something else. You can see the next note blinking up and down. So basically what it's telling me, it played that E for you. And if I didn't catch it, I can ask to hear it again. I can do that from the Braille keyboard. In fact, I should do all this now from the Braille keyboard. There's the E. Okay, I'm going to put this down so I can type on it. But we have certain keys set up in the software to give us different cues.
And just so you know, you are not sharing your computer audio at the moment.
Oh my, let me make sure. Hang on, guys. Zoom. Zoom screen go. Here we go.
Space.
There you go.
Leaving menus. Dock
How's
to
that?
top button.
Sounds good.
Okay, lovely. All right.
Host attendee dashes Lime.
So now we're back to Lime.
Pachelbel's canon excerpt violin.lim : Lime. Pachelbel's canon excerpt violin.
Now, those of you who may have heard this piece, if you've been to a wedding ceremony lately, you probably heard this piece as you walk down the aisle. But it was written by a composer named Pachelbel, who I'm sure wrote a lot of other nice music, but at this point, nobody knows anything about what he wrote except this. But as I was saying, you can move through note by note.
Bar 2 beat 1, D5, F.
So
Start
it
video
just said on beat 1 of bar 2, we have a D, and it's in the 5th octave. So we say D5, and it's a half note.
D5, F.
And if you can see the print music, and if you can read print music, you can see that there is a note there on the 4th line of the treble clef, treble staff. And here's the good old Braille again. And that right under my finger, those dots 1, 3, 5 in Braille music, are the dots for D. So it's an integrated system. We have the print music, we have the screen reader giving us a talking score feature, we have the Braille on the Braille, and we have the sound of the note. So it's all integrated. Anyway, so the good thing about the Braille is, as I said, there are a lot of wonderful Braille displays out there, but what I really like about the Braille, the way we set it up and the way it was designed, as you may know, they basically took a QWERTY keyboard, all the keys from the QWERTY keyboard, and took away the alphanumeric keys, but left all the control keys. So you have your function keys across the top, you have your typical, F1, you have a tab key, a caps lock, a shift. Basically, you already know what you have because of the arrangement. On the other side, we have the arrow keys. So I can arrow through my piece.
Bar 7, beat 1, G4.
So it's very intuitive. You can go right to it. So as I remember, if I forget where I am, I can type the letter B in our software. I'm going to type a B dots 1, 2 for those who are Braille users.
Bar 7, beat 1.
And it's right there. So I don't have to move my hands from my cue Braille. I can feel the Braille, the Braille music, and I can
Bar 7, beat 1.
I can type all those little things like B for bar. If I type C, I can find out about the clef information.
Treble clef, staff 1 system 2, page 1.
What else? The V will tell me the instrument name.
Violin.
And so forth. So it's very handy. It's very,
Beat 3.
it really
F sharp
improves
4,
efficiency.
F.
Another fun thing about the software itself is I'm going to do Control G and
Go to bar or page
go
dot
back
go
to
to
bar 1.
1. Enter. Pochelbel's
And
canon
I'm doing all this
bar 1
from
beat
the
1. Treble clef 2 sharp.
I'm doing all of this from the QWERTY keyboard. So
You must
Here-
mean the Braille keyboard.
Your specified parts.
So
Percent of
I'm going to
tempo.
play it back
Edit.
in tempo
100.
now.
Type in text. Alt plus
I'm going to
P,
play it
enter.
back in tempo. And on the Braille display, I'm reading along. And if you listen carefully, you can hear a metronome click. Right after this, okay, here come 4 quarter notes. And those of you who can see the Braille display, you're going to see a change right there because we went to the next line.
End
So
playback.
the music is
Line.
tracking in print
Pochelbel's
and
canon
in Braille.
excerpt violin.lim : page 1 of
Yeah.
3.
The music is tracking in print and in Braille, and I'm reading along. And if you can see the screen, you can read along, and we're all listening. So there's a lot of integration going on. And again, the Q Braille is a great addition to that kind of integration, because with other Braille displays, I have to put my hands on the Braille display, come back and put my hands on my laptop keyboard, and so forth. I mean, all doable, but just makes life a lot simpler and makes me more efficient when I'm using the software. So I know we lost a little time here in our late start, but let's see. I want to bring in some other types of music that you can hear that are a little more complex.
And just so you know, Bill, while you're playing the music, we can hear that you're talking, but we can't hear exactly what you're saying unless we listen really, really closely.
Yeah, okay, got it. It's probably stepping all over me, right? So let's see.
Meeting controls. To post attendee. Braille. C : users /public /document. M. Maria from M. Mozart waltzes. Enter.
Okay, there's
Check.
some nice Mozart wall.
Items view list box.
Don't know if he's listening, but my friend Rick Epperly from out there in the great state of New Mexico passed these on to me. Rick is quite a whiz with Lime.
~03 waltz.
Also has his Q Braille.
01 waltz. 02 03 waltz.
And actually, Rick he and his business partners have a very interesting company. They make what they call better music boxes. And they really are beautiful things. And the cool thing is Rick is the blind musician who writes the arrangements for them using Lime and his Q Braille. But he also actually, this is the crazy part, he gets those tiny, I don't know if you've ever touched the mechanism for a music box, but they're so tiny, little teeth. that little combs, and he files them. He's a blind guy, and he files them down, and he makes sure that they're just right. Sometimes you'll hear a music box and it's kind of out of tune. The better music boxes sound great. Okay, anyway, let's open up one of the
Enter.
Mozart
Line.
that he gave me.
New piece, 03 waltz in B flat major,
Okay,
bar 0 beat 1.
so let's have a taste of this Mozart here.
Here, key,
This time I'm going to mute the metronome.
Alt M. Enter. 03 waltz in B.
Okay, so that's nice. And just for,
03 waltz in B flat major dot lim colon
Yes,
page
yes.
1 of 3 semicolon.
we can kind of zoom in on each note. So that's the current note. And I can say, am I supposed to play any other notes while that current note is being played in the right hand? And I do another keyboard command. Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to play that 2 notes. And then let's see, while I'm playing that with my right hand, anything else in the left hand? Yeah, okay. So anyway, just another kind of fun thing about the software. I'm going to load another piece. So one of my customers sent me an entire movement of Mozart's 40th Symphony, and I'm going to find that for you here. Let me see if I can do my Alt Tab right from the good old Braille.
C colon backslash
I
users
did.
backslash public
I'll
backslash
type
documents
an M.
backslash items view multi-select list box 03 waltz in
Oh.
B flat major dot
Wait a
lim
minute.
checked. Escape. 04 waltz in E flat escape. 05 waltz in G major dot lim escape. 06 waltz in D major dot lim checked.
Trying to go up to
8
the
of
next level.
14. Escape.
Yeah.
Escape.
I'm hitting escape on both keyboards and it still won't go up.
Backspace.
Yeah, okay.
Bar 0 beat 1 comma
Back to line.
F5 comma line. To move to an item, press the arrow keys period.
Let's see. Okay.
Folder view list view. Not selected 2018 DD reports. Exclaim. Exclamation mark. Desktop dash shortcut enter. Folder view list view. Not select.
I guess because we're connected to Zoom and there's a lot going on, everything is really slowing down here, but bear with me.
LL. Music 9/17/2018 152p. Lime 9.16 example.
There we
Enter.
go.
Look in colon combo box. Lovis. 12 of 13. M. Maria from M. Mozart. M. Music XM. M. Master plan. McCann. MCT. MCT. Type call. Mozart orchestrated Sim 40 MVM T1.lim 5/1/2000 enter.
Okay.
03 waltz in B flat major dot lim colon page 1 of 3 semicolon piano dash 1 colon new piece Mozart orchestrated Sim 40 MVM T1.lim flute.
Okay, so here's the Mozart. It has the first piece was just a solo violin, then we went to piano. I can arrow down through this. I'm going to arrow on my Braille.
Oboes dash
I'm going to go down to
bassoons dash 2 horn and G violin dash
I'm going to go down to the violin.
treble clef,
Okay.
2 flats G minor cut time half rest.
Sorry, I got to stop talking when Tom is talking. So here's the violin part, and we'll just play back a touch of this for you. A minute. Gosh, where are we? Hang on.
C:\users\public. Start video left parental plus V right paren. Post attendee meeting control Braille. Volume mix JAWS perfect line. Mozart orchestrated Symphony. Start video left parental plus V right paren. Here menu. Here ... control enter. Here key. Here specified parts. % of mark temp alt M.
Okay.
Enter.
So
playback.
you can hear
Mozart orchestrated Symphony MV bar 10B 2.5.
So you can hear everybody's part there. And again, if I'm zooming in on the first violin, what am I playing at this point?
Bar 10B 2.5.
Bar 10B 2.5. I'm playing. Sounds like an. Wait a minute. I'll find out.
High 5.
Yeah,
Quarter.
it's an A. My almost perfect pitch worked. So he's playing A, and while he's playing it, let's see what everyone else is doing. Yeah, so he fits right in there. So we can move through note by note with the arrow keys.
Beat 1.5, D5.
With control and the page up key, we can, wait a minute, control.
R12. B2. Last note on page. Last note on page. Violin. Bar 13 beat 1.
So we can
treble
also
clef, 2 flats, G minor, G.
We can also ask Tom to stay quiet. If we do Shift Escape.
Full stop. Lime navigation speaking is off. Silencio.
And to remind you, I'm doing all this from the Braille keyboard. So now when I do that control and page up, so that way, sometimes it's just nicer to turn off the talking feature temporarily if you want to find your place or not get distracted by too much chatter, but then you can Shift Escape and put them right back on again.
Full stop. Lime navigation speaking is on.
So, okay, so that's kind of like how we're reading scores. Again, because we've made a program called Goodfeel, there is a Braille window, and I'm not sure. I'll focus on it to make sure the sighted people can see it.
C:\back.
Where is it?
Meeting control Braille.
There it is.
Braille. Read only.
So this
edit.
little
Mozart
Braille window has all the stuff that's on my Braille display. And
line.
if I go back to
move to
mine,
an
I
item, press
think
the
you may
arrow
still
key.
see it at the top of the screen, but I'm not sure what, if anything, Zoom does to.
No, it's hidden.
It's hidden? Okay. All right. So Anyway, so we started out making a separate program called Goodfeel. And then over the years, we integrated it with this Lime program. So again, Lime is sort of like Microsoft Word for music, and Goodfeel, if this makes any sense to you, is kind of like the Duxbury for Braille music. When you put them together, you have something fun. So the question becomes, okay, well, how do I make the music I want? And maybe later on in the presentation, we'll give you a taste of something that I created in Lime that allowed me to, well, I like to write songs. I made up a silly song about a blind guy who was dreaming about his first ride in his solo ride in his self-driving Google car. I called it a Google car. And so that was kind of fun. It kind of made people laugh and think, I hope. I know it made them laugh. I'm not sure how much they were thinking, but it made me think, because I would love to have my own self-driving car and also be terrified to take it out on the road. So we'll see which side of me wins when the time comes. I don't have one yet. But to get back to the musical piece of it, I was able to use Lime to compose the music, and I was able to use Lime and Goodfeel to make Braille copies of the music for Braille singers in my singing group. I was able to print large magnified scores for the low vision people in the group, and regular size print for the 2020 volunteers who were in the group. And this was at a fun music program I did for a few summers back earlier. I think the last one was 2017. I was out at Enchanted Hills Camp near Napa, California. So anyway, maybe what I'll do is open that music, and maybe Earl can play a little bit about that. How about that, Earl? If you have it queued up. Let me see if I can get the music open here.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. I think I unmuted myself. You guys hear me okay?
You sound fine, yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, here's the Google car recording that you sent me.
Let me just get the
Oh,
okay.
I can
just
pause it.
Pause that for a second. I want to put the music up for people.
Absolutely.
Opening segment, if I can find it here.
GT transcriptions 3/3/2000 tilde country spring for tilde Mozart orchestra the glorious dream ballad of Google car 9-line present the glorious dream enter the glorious dream ballad of the Google car limp type Lime document size 957
yeah, okay,
bar 48 beat.
I'm actually
go to bar or page dialog 1 enter the glorious dream ballad of the Google car bar 2 beat 1
okay.
Are we going to synchronize this somehow, or do you want me to just play it?
No, I don't want to do that. I think that wouldn't work.
If we have had problems already. Here we go.
Glorious dream, my horizons are boundless, and although I am sightless, I command all I can't see. The faster I'm speeding along, there's concern for contusions in this world of illusions. Could this be happening to me? I am riding in my Google car. There's nobody driving. On the road all alone, just potholes, Siri and me. I am cruising in my Google car. Something more than amazing. It's hard to conceive I can leave and just drive anywhere. When I up my tank, I cause consternation. When I locate the pumps using only my trusty white cane. It's called a Google car. They say it's self-driving, yet I have the feeling that there's something else I may need.
So it kind of goes from there, but and by the way, if you want to check it out, it's on YouTube somewhere. Just look for Ballad of the Google Car.
That
But
sounds like quite a festive crowd you had there.
yeah, that was a good time. I tried to record it at our camp, which was a little more high energy performance. We had a band, and we had a rhythm section, I should say, and we had a bunch of singers. But unfortunately, that recording had some technical problems. But the fun part is, as I said, everybody was reading in the medium that they preferred. So the Braille readers had the Braille score, low vision people had the magnified print, and the 20/20 people had what they needed. And the fun part was it all came from the same source file in Lime, and Lime passed it to Goodfeel for the Braille version to be automatically created. So that was not only a fun creative moment, but also a really gratifying moment for the work that I've been involved with my business partner, Albert Milani. Albert took my simple prototype of Goodfeel and made a real full-fledged program out of it, and we programmed a lot of it together. We had a few other talented programmers throw in, especially our friend Dr. Lippold Hawken, who made Lime years ago, not even thinking about that maybe someday a blind guy might want to use Lime. But anyway, fast forward, here we are, and we're using Lime. We have students using it at all levels, from from grade school, primary school, through postgraduate, people using it at different levels. The fun part is that because you can write music with it, a lot of our post-secondary customers are using it to do their music theory homework. So I'll just give you a very brief taste of it. Well, wait a minute. I'm so used to typing on the laptop. I'm going to type on the keyboard. So let's see. I'm going to go to the File menu.
File menu, new ... To move through items, press up or down arrow, N.
Is the audio okay for the screen reader? Can you guys hear it okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. It's a little faint here, but I can hear it. So, okay. So I'm just going to go to new.
Enter. Create new piece dialog.
I noticed
Okay.
you had your volume mixer open there too. So if you wanted to bring it up so you could hear it better, it'd probably be better on this end too, but not entirely necessary.
You know what? If it's okay, I'm going to leave it alone because it's
Yes.
too many technical. But so anyway, let's see if I tab through here.
Time signature, number of beats per measure, edit.
I can
4.
put in all the
Type in
usual.
text. Alt plus F4.
I can put in all the usual things. You know, the time signature, the title.
Time signature beat. Insert times. Measures per system, edit. 4.
So it also lets me set up the print page. So there are 4 measures on each line in the print.
Systems per page, edit. 4.
It's going to
Type in
be
text.
4. I'm going to change that to 8. There'll be 8 lines on each page.
8. Name for first part in piece : edit.
And
Type in text.
I don't know.
Alt plus
Let's
B.
make this for flute. And
Flute. Single. Title for piece : edit.
call
Type
it,
in text. Alt plus I.
funny.
Funny 1.
Oops. Now let me back up.
Space. 1, comma.
Funny.
Funny, comma, space.
Flute.
Flute. Enter. New piece : left paren create new piece : flute bar 1 beat 1 treble clef no sharps or flats, C major, 4/4 time, whole rest combined 4 measures.
Okay, so we have a blank page in print and in Braille. I'm going to go into note entry mode. And before we had our technical difficulty control, it was working fine. Now it,
Note entry mode,
there it goes.
whole.
Okay, so I'm going to say, no, actually, let's start with a quarter note.
Quarter.
And so at this point, it's let me see if in all the excitement, my keyboard still works.
Note
Oh,
entry
good.
mode, quarter beat 2.
So I don't know if you can see it on the video. I'm going to lift this up, but there's a musical keyboard here attached. And I'm going to play on that. It's just much more intuitive. You can actually type notes in from the QWERTY keyboard or even from your QBraille, but it's just not quite as intuitive. So, but I will put one hand on my QBraille and change the durations that I want, and then I'll play them over here. So
Eighth.
here's some eighth notes.
Note entry beat 3.
And then we'll go with some 16th notes.
Quarter.
No, wait, I want a 16th note.
Note entry mode, quarter beat 4. Bar 2 beat 1.
Okay, I'm messing up big time. Hold on.
Flat.
I don't want a flat.
16th.
There's what I want. I want a 16th. So,
Note entry mode.
and you'll notice that we
16th beat
inverted the
1.25.
saxophone sound. We're going to change that to flute in a minute.
Beat 1.5. Beat 1.7. Beat 2.
And now
Tuplet.
we'll
3
make
and
some
time
nice
2.
triplets.
Note entry B2 beat 2.67. B2 beat 3. Beat 3.5.
And turn off the tuplets.
No tuplet.
And we'll go to what, eighth notes? Yeah.
8th.
And we'll have a big finish. This is kind of hard to do on a flute, but if you sing one note,
Note entry mode.
You can do it.
8th beat 4.
just practice at home. Okay, so now I'm going to do Control G.
Go to bar
Go
number.
back to the
Go
beginning.
1. Enter. Colon new piece colon star page end note entry mode bar
And
1
now we'll
beat
go back
1.
to
Treble clef.
we'll go back to our good old hear dialogue to hear what I just, oh wait, first I'm going to change it to that flute sound we told you about. So Alt V,
Voice menu.
C,
C. Voice on check
H.
V. Assign voice to MIDI check.
pipes. One pipes, please.
P. Lim. A legal MIDI channel. Please use an integer
now I've done
between
it.
1 and 16.
Okay.
Continue.
Illegal.
Comma.
Uh-oh.
I know.
C button.
Illegal.
Escape. Voice on channel dialog. MIDI channel edit. P.
Oh, I see what happened. Sorry about that.
1. Default MIDI program helper button. General MIDI assistant dialog. P. Pipes. 10 of 16. General MIDI instrument call. F. Flute. 2 of 8. Enter. Voice on channel dialog. OK button.
Okay.
Space. Period. Colon new piece colon star page bar 1 beat 1. Here dialog. Here specified parts. Percent of mark. Alt M.
Okay. See what we got.
Enter.
Here we go.
I like that last note.
Yeah. Well,
Colon new
you gotta
piece
get a friend in on that last note, or like I said, you could sing the E and play the C, or there was a guy who made the flute famous in rock music with the Jethro Tull band. Was it Ian Anderson? He used to sing while he played the flute.
Yes.
It can be done.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, all right. So the fun thing about that is, you know, you can go back and you can add dynamics.
Bar 3 beat 1.
Let me see if I can move back here. Here's a fun thing.
Bar 2 beat 2 beat 1 beat 1. First note in piece.
Okay, I just
funny,
hit the left arrow key and
flute.
Oops. I just hit the left arrow key and zip back to the beginning. You can do all kinds of things, but I'll just give you one example. If I go to the annotations menu.
Annotation menu. Previous annotation. To move through item X, T, title, T.
And I go down to dynamic.
D. To navigate, Dynamics Assistant dialog. Dynamics Assistant dialog. F. 7 of 19.
Let's make it forte.
Enter. New piece star page 1 of 1. New piece star page 1 of 1.
I hit mezzo forte, but anyway.
1 of 1.
I hit mezzo forte, but you get the idea that I can put in a dynamic.
Beach 2, D4, 8th.
Fun things like put an accent here, if I can remember how to do that from the keyboard. Let's see. That didn't work. Shift and 7, I think. All right. We'll have to go back to the drawing board on that one. Let me try it from this keyboard.
Accent.
Yeah. So I can put in accents, slurs, ties, lyrics, all kinds of stuff. And then the fun thing is when you're done, you can do the standard. You can try to do the standard Control P. But for some reason, my control, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Earl and I were experimenting the other day and we found that sometimes it's safer to use the sticky keys, if you know about that option in Windows, where you can tell Windows, hey, I'm going to press more than 2 keys at once, but I want to just press them in sequence. I don't want to try to press them together. And that's a little more reliable, but see if I can just try Control P once again.
I think it's because you got so many moving parts going on here. If you're, you know, you had some issues with your computer anyway, and now we're doing Zoom and time and all this other stuff. But it was flying earlier.
I know. So anyway, the main thing we wanted to let you know today is that the QBraille really does add a lot of value if you do a lot of reading and writing of Braille music with our software. And I would think if you do a lot of reading and writing of Braille music even offline, because you can take these files and you can open them up in the notepad function of your QBraille. In fact, one of the things I really appreciate about my friends at HIMSS is that they actually set up their devices to read the formatted Braille that comes from Goodfeel without any transition. We make what we call .gf files for Goodfeel. They're very much like .brf files under the hood, but unless you rename them for other devices, they just don't know they're there. But the HIMSS devices, if they're on your SD card or whatever media you're reading, they'll find them and open them up and they'll make sense. So I love that. Thanks again, guys. And a shout out to our friends at Duxbury who did that years ago. You can open GF files right into your Duxbury software and even insert line files into your Braille document. And some newer friends from Poland who make a program called Euler actually did that as well. You can open up GF files. Okay, so let's see, where are we? What do you think, Earl? Should we pause?
Let's kind of step back a little bit because you've done a lot with demonstrating how a person can actually compose a piece and some pre-recorded pieces. How would you actually, how would a sighted instructor use something like Goodfeel to translate music for a blind student?
Well, there are basically three ways. I showed you the first, which is direct entry. Unfortunately for me, that's accessible. So, a sighted guy, well, they could type on the keyboard like I do, but a lot of them will click. There's an on-screen keyboard. There's a graphic of a keyboard you can click on. You can use the hardware MIDI keyboard that I have here. And you can directly enter stuff in there. You can click in your slurs and ties and everything, your lyrics. The second way is to actually import scores in a format called Music XML, which I will demonstrate quickly.
File menu, music, X, import music XML.
Music XML is a wonderful thing because it's sort of like the musical
name header bar
version of electronic, what do people call them, electronic curb cuts. After the real curb cuts that people put cuts in the curb, and for people with wheelchairs, but then they found out that people with baby buggies really liked them, and then they found out that guys with big carts hauling stuff really liked them too. And it's sort of the same thing with Music XML. It was designed for the mainstream market. So if you have a program, say like Sibelius, that makes scores like Lime, and your friend has Finale, you can actually export and import Music XML, and nobody has to re-enter the whole score. But that works out great for us because we can import Music XML.
Folder view list.
And make it accessible immediately. So let me see if I have any here.
All underline the underline. B. Bill Music 3/11. Brahms underline intermezzo underline A. Sayarshi. Daisy Braille. Dancing dots dash. DD year dash.
Where did I put my Music XML stuff?
Look in : combo box. OS left paren C : right paren. 4 of 5. To change the TT 10/31/2018 340 D. Del 10/11/2000 U. Users 3/5/ enter. Look in.
Everything's slowing down here with the
L. Public 11. Limelighter DD demo file enter. Folder view list. Des. Contact. Desktop enter. Folder view. L. Music. Lime 9.16 examples 2/ enter. Folder view list. Mozart waltzes 5/1 M. Music XML enter.
okay.
Look in : combo box. Music XML. A. Enter any 8. Arthur underline S underline theme 12/ enter. Look in : meta dash I. Date created : 9/8. A. Arthur underline S underline theme dot XML.
Okay, so here's the XML file I found online. It was free. It was somebody's arrangement of a movie theme. There was a movie years ago called Arthur. It was kind of a silly movie. Probably the best part of the movie for me was the theme song. So I'm going to just import it by hitting enter.
Enter. XML import options : XML import option.
Lime offers a lot of options for importing. I typically don't change them. I'll just hit enter and say whatever you think.
Enter. : from : Arthur underline S underline theme dot XML processing : from : Arthur underline S underline theme dot XML violin I beat 1 treble clef 3 sharps I major cut time quarter equals 132 F natural written 5.
Yeah, so Tom says I for A. I don't know why, but he says I major. It's in A major.
Bar 1 beat 1.
And let's just play it back. But immediately the music is on the screen. There's a first violin part.
Violin I. Violin I. Viola. Violoncello.
I have a funny MIDI setup where it's inheriting the last MIDI sound used. I think if I play this, though, it'll sound like strings. I'm not sure. It may sound like piano. Okay, so let's hear it.
Hear a dialogue. End playback.
So there you go.
Colon from colon.
That is so great because nobody had to scan anything.
Mm-hmm.
Third way is scanning music, and scanning music is wonderful when it works, but it doesn't always work. Even though the scanning software we distribute with Lime and Goodfeel, we distribute a program by special permission called SharpEye Music Reader, which technically isn't a commercial product anymore, except we have an arrangement where we can continue because we really like SharpEye. It just does what we need it to do. But I'll just say that for a blind person like me, music scanning is at best a crapshoot. Sometimes things scan perfectly and everybody's happy, but a lot of times there are inevitably one or more scanning errors. And when the errors occur, we have a problem. Because to fix them, you have to look at the original score. And of course, if we could do that, we wouldn't be going to all this trouble to try to make it accessible. So you really want to have a helper who's 20/20, or at least can see fairly well enough to read the music in SharpEye and use its very graphical interface when things come up. So let me go to SharpEye and just give you a taste of it here. Where are we?
Folder view list view. JAWS 2. SH. SharpEye 2 checked. Enter.
Going to, I do have a
SharpEye 2.
I do have a hardware scanner here, but I'm going to just, in the interest of time,
Control I.
find an image that's already been scanned. But basically, you take your book, put it on your flatbed scanner, hit your scan button. You want it to be
Open dialog.
You want it
File
to
name
be
colon edit combo.
You want it to be black and white, and you want it to be 300 dots per inch.
Explorer pane. Folder. Exclamation mark. Info attachments dash. Music for transcription. 49 of 40. Lubin MT1. 48 of 40. All underline the underline things underline you underline are left paren a flat right paren. 47 of Brahms underline.
Let me see here.
Exclaim, exclamation mark, info attachments dash shortcut 1 of exclaim, exclamation mark, desktop enter. Shell folder view. Items view list box. Items view list. QuickBooks auto date. Authorizations.
Oh, darn it. I have definitely have some images. Bear with me.
Escape. PC car subtitle is SharpEye 2. Control I. Open dialog.
Elsewhere.
Enter. File name colon edit combo. To set all. Explore. Temp. U. Users. 3 of 31. Enter. Shell folder view. L. Enter. Folder layout pane. Shell folder view. Items view list box. Default. 11. DR. Dropbox. 17 of 23. Enter. Shell folder. PP. Intel. TP. Shell folder view. Name date modified. Items view list box. Roaming. 10 roaming. 7 of roaming. 7 of 23. Shell folder view. Explorer pane. D. Desktop dash shortcut. 5 of 5. D. Default. 1. D. Desktop. D. Default. 1 of 5. Default. Shell folder view. Items view list box. To move to an item. TT. For users. Windows. Use enter. Shell folder view. Items view list box. To move to L. Public. Limelighter DV demo. Enter. Shell folder view. Explorer pane. Unavailable. Explorer pane. D. Dropbox. Set enter. Shell folder view. P. Shell folder view. P. Photos. 20. Public. Enter. Shell folder view.
So how about this, Bill? While we're waiting for you to find that, maybe we could start getting into some of the Q&A questions.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you know, and also I just wanted to kind of clarify some things. You did a great job of demoing the composition side of things, and now we're talking about how things can be scanned in, kind of like the open book or Kurzweil for music. And then if I understand, you take a picture of it, pull it up into Lime, and then you can make your corrections wherever errors occur, which you suggested sighted people can do. But the beauty about this, and then rendering this with Goodfeel, is that you don't need to be a Braille reader to do this, do you? You don't necessarily have to know how to read Braille.
Well, yeah, the sighted people who effectively play the role of transcribers don't necessarily have to know a thing about Braille or screen readers, or even blind people for that matter, know how to read music and use a computer. So that was one of my goals starting out, years ago, was I wanted to improve the situation. The situation when I went to music school years ago, and when I was trying to work as a professional musician, if I needed to get from print to Braille, I literally had to mail the music off to a wonderful transcriber somewhere who volunteered his or her talents. They looked at it, and they were certified to convert it into the Braille score. And weeks or months later, they sent it to me. And because they were doing this as volunteers, and I bless their hearts, but I couldn't really say, what the truth is, I really need this now, or at least tomorrow. And so I wanted to make something where that's possible. And we've made a way for transcriptions to be done, not in weeks or months, but in hours or days. And as you just saw with that Music XML thing, sometimes even in seconds or minutes. So yeah, we've come a long, long way, as they say.
Tree view, OS left parenthesis, colon right parenthesis, close 8 of 8.
Here, guys. Sorry about it. I don't know where they're hiding.
That's okay. You know what? We got a little bit of a late start, and we're into the 6 o'clock hour for you.
Items view.
Got to be cutting into dinner time. So.
Yeah.
And, I think that would be maybe a good thing to go ahead and start opening it up.
Yeah, let's have some questions. And you know what? If you're really interested in scanning, we actually, Albert and I, my business partner, we just did a session with a new customer at Rutgers University, and we showed them scanning in detail. I'm going to be uploading that to our own Dancing Dots page. I got permission to do that. So Perfect. If you want to check that out, look at Dancing Dots on YouTube in the next day or two. And I'll try to post something also to our list. So let's just go into discussion mode if you like.
All right, that sounds good. So the first question was, does it show the Braille music as proper music Braille notation?
Yes, it is standard Braille music notation. Pardon me. It is not, some kind of literary kind of equivalent where people will say, well, the note is G, so they'll show you a literary G, and then they have some kind of like system. Anyway, it's the system that Louis Braille developed. It's really stood the test of time since he published it in 1829 at the ripe old age of 20 years old. Just think back of what you were doing when you were 20. Anyway.
My shoes, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, Louis is one of my heroes, and really the word genius gets thrown around a lot, but in his case, it's apt. But anyway, so what we did was we love Braille music. Braille music has really helped me. I'm a great advocate for Braille music because it does tell you what's on the page. You're not just listening to someone else and mimicking what they did. You're going right to the source. You not only know what pitches and rhythms to play, you know where to get louder, where to get softer, where the accents are, where the dynamics change from mezzo forte to piano or whatever. You get to decide how you want to play, and you're not getting it filtered through someone else who was looking at the score. You're not one step removed. You're getting the score.
Mm-hmm.
You score, in fact.
All right, the next question, where are you reading the Braille? I just see the music. So can you explain where to visually see this in Braille?
Yeah, okay. Let me...
Dock to top button. To act. Sharp I2. To Lime.
Going back to Lime.
Lime.
Back to this
Arthur
Arthur
underline
piece.
S on.
And let me find...
Beat 1, B2.5, I4, 8th. Beat 1.25.
Okay, so now we're on the B. I'm gonna pick up my good old Q Braille, and hopefully, maybe Thomas, you can confirm it's visible now. I'm holding it in front of me.
Yeah, we don't see your webcam. We only see your screen.
Okay, let me see if I can put my video.
Meeting controls. To move to an item, Alt V. Meeting
Oh, the
alert.
host has to.
You cannot
have to
start
put
your
my
video.
on.
Dock to top button.
Wherever
to
the host
activate,
is,
press
Thomas or
spacebar.
Earl.
Can you?
I'm not seeing that option.
Oh, wow. For me, it's Alt V as in video, but maybe not.
B. Line. To move to an item, press the arrow keys. Bar 10 beat 1.25. Line.
Okay.
Violin on.
Well, maybe if you can find that control, but I'll just do the descriptive video service for everybody. On the Braille display, as you may know, the Q Braille it's called XL. A little trivia here. Roman numeral XL is the Roman numeral for 40. So it has 40 cells. And right now I see the first two measures of Braille music on it. It starts out with a forward repeat. We have a few F naturals, a quarter rest, a couple A's, they're all eighth notes, and then the one's tied into the next measure. There's an A slurred to a B, and the B now is what's selected. And I'm feeling the dots for that B, which are in Braille music, are dots 2, 4, 5. They're kind of blinking up and down. So that tells me when I ask the software, hey, what is the current note? It says B4 eighth. That tells me, yeah, the pitch is B. It's in the 4th octave, which is the octave of middle C, and it's an 8th note. So, and if you can see my screen, you can see that that note is visually highlighted on the staff. So, and if we want, we can ask the software to play that note. Hang on. There it is. So, yeah, sorry you visually can't see that, but that's the video description for you. And if we get video up and running before we sign off, I'll be happy to show it to you.
And isn't there also a window to show the sim Braille?
Oh yeah, let me bring that into focus.
Meeting controls.
Where is that? There it is.
Braille.
So this
Braille.
is
Read only edit.
the Sim Braille, as Thomas said, or is the actual Braille font showing what I was just describing. And I'm not sure in this view if the current cell is a different color,
Beat 1.5.
but
B4.
it probably
8.
should be if it's not.
Task switching.
So it's a
9.
different
To move
color
to an
in the
item,
Braille
press the arrow
font and
keys. Colon from
on the Braille display.
colon from colon
On the
R
Braille
to
display, it
underline
actually blinks up and down, and that's your cue to know that, okay, that's what we're talking about when we ask the software to describe. If I move to the next,
Beat 1.75.
so this is an eighth
eighth
rest. And it's in Braille music, an eighth rest is dots 1, 3, 4, 6, and it's blinking up and down. So anyway, yeah, that's the way it works.
Great. So the next question, how does the software work with percussion pieces?
It works with percussion. The MIDI is just kind of a tech speak for music playback. The MIDI, you have to fuss a little bit more with it. For those people who if this means anything to, pardon me, for the people it doesn't, but when you're in MIDI channel 10 in any musical software, that's where each key, each black and white key triggers its own percussive sound. That's called a general MIDI standard. So, you know, your C2 might be a bass drum and the D above that might be a snare sound. But the sounds are not always where you might want to write them. In other words, if you wanted to write the snare drum on the third line of the bass clef, you would, if you played the, that'd be a D, a third octave D, you might not get a bass drum sound. So there's a way in line to map those sounds. It works, but it's a little clunky, but it works. So yes, we can transcribe percussion music, and we can make the proper signs in Braille music. For example, the same sign in Braille music we use for a trill is used for a drum roll. The same sign for a grace note we use for a flam, and so forth.
So if I had an electronic drum kit, you know, basically with a MIDI connection, and I could perceivably kind of establish a template, couldn't I?
I think so, yes. In fact, I think at one point I made a drum template. We do install templates with Lime, and I'm not sure if I ever distributed that one, but.
Because yeah, it's something I'm using over and over again. I could just set up a file, assign those notes to those MIDI channels, and they will, and name it just, you know, basic template or whatever, and it would always be there, and I just go rename it.
Yeah, definitely doable.
Okay.
Any other questions there on your list, Thomas?
Yeah, sorry, I'm multitasking here, handling the phone lines and this. So is the QBraille a software app or a device?
Oh no, the QBraille is a hardware device. Earl and Thomas would know more, I suppose, but I call it a note taker. It can function as a Braille display in what's called terminal mode, but it's a standalone device. You can take and read all kinds of things, not just music Braille. You can read text files, Word files, DAISY files.
PDF documents,
Yeah.
GF files, Goodfeel files.
GF files, yeah, man.
That's right. You know, and so really the QBraille was inspired to be something, its real strength is something that could connect with something else. And of course, QBraille can connect with up to 7 devices simultaneously, 1 USB and 6 Bluetooth. And so it's a piece of hardware, and instead of a QWERTY keyboard like the main, the alphanumeric keyboard that you would have, it is replaced by a Perkins style Braille keyboard, yet you still have all the extended QWERTY keys like the function keys, the escape, the 6-pack, the arrows, and things like that. So all those keystrokes that you're familiar with on your computer carry over to the Q Braille. So all those keystrokes that you memorized with JAWS or whatever your screen reader of choice might be, just transfers over the Q Braille. So the beauty of it is, once you get used to it, you never have to leave the Q Braille. You know, you go back and forth between the keyboard on the computer and the Braille display. It's just all right there.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying I really like about using Lime and Goodfeel with it, because I can feel the Braille music as soon as I type it in. I can feel it come up. I don't have to take my hands from the QWERTY keyboard and Braille display and back and forth. In fact, one of my first sales, because we do represent HIMS products, one of my first sales was to a customer who is a musician, but her day job, she's a medical transcriptionist. And she was telling me she's doing this work for years, you know, so it's repetitive motion. She's going back and forth from her Braille display to her PC keyboard to her Braille display. And she was literally getting pains in her arms, and she was getting worried about how much longer she could do this and deal with this pain. And she got a Q Braille. And all of a sudden, she can see the Braille that she's typing in into Word, and she can type it in with the Perkins keyboard that's integrated with the Q Braille, and the pain has gone away. I mean, I just love that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that keeps you waking up in the morning, just like in my world with music, just to know that somebody was able to get a song out of her head, put it on the page, print it out, give it to her choral teacher, and have everybody sing it. You know, those are the kind of moments that make it all worth it. You know, when you wake up in the morning. So I just love that kind of stuff, and that's the fun part of the work that we all do.
All right. So let's go ahead and keep on going with these questions. We got quite a few of them. So let's
I got time. If you guys want to hang out.
Some of these have been waiting a little bit. Will your Lime software work reasonably well with a QT Braille note?
Braille note.
Yes, the software will work pretty much with any Braille device that has a JAWS driver. I should say that we started with JAWS, and the speech you heard came from JAWS. The Braille I'm feeling comes from JAWS. Now, in the last year or so, we had a breakthrough where we can have other screen readers speak what you heard, the talking score feature. Like NVDA, even Narrator works pretty well, but we don't have the Braille piece working yet with those programs. So to get back to your question, if you have a Braille note, if you have you know, a Handytech Braille device, if you have any Braille device that JAWS can talk to, then it'll work with our stuff.
Great. Next question, is this ability to use a Q Braille without touching your laptop particular to the Q Braille because of its function keys, etc.?
I don't have another Braille device that can do something like this. I suppose there might be some things, but I think the strength of the Q Braille itself is its design. You don't really have to learn a lot of special keys. In other words, if you know that Alt F4 closes your program, you just find Alt and F4 on the Q Braille and it's all there. It's laid out physically to the same map that's in your head already from using a QWERTY keyboard. Yeah, the keys are different shapes, but they're basically laid out in the same places you would. For example, the 12 function keys are right across the top in groups of 4. And you just know that, you know, oh, function keys, got it. So it's very quick to learn and very simple to use because you don't have do any mental somersaults and try to figure out, you know, oh, what is this key on this Braille device map to? So I think the genius of it is just the way they, as I said, they kind of took a QWERTY keyboard, if you can imagine taking out the home row and all the rows you type on, but all the stuff surrounding the QWERTY keys is still there. Again, the shape of the keys is slightly different, but it's all there in the configuration that you already know.
Great. Next question. How do we turn the clicking metronome off in Lime?
Oh, you go into the Here dialog with Control H, and then you press Alt M, and that toggles the metronome on and off. There's also, if you tab through, there's a volume control from 0 to 100 that you can adjust the relative volume of the click.
All right. Can your product be used to learn a piece of music?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's what most people use it for. You can learn it in a few different ways. You can make a hard copy Braille score by launching Goodfeel. I should do that if you're still all
File menu.
File menu.
G. To navigate, press left or right arrow.
I'll type G to launch Goodfeel. And in a few seconds here, let's see, the Goodfeel should come up. And so what's going on here?
Goodfeel intermediate dialog.
Yeah, here it is.
Format, read only edit.
So
Reading alert. Use your reading keys. Braille Alt P. Braille destination.
I clicked on the process.
Enter.
I hit enter, and it's sitting on a button that says Braille Editor. And I think because we're all hooked up here, it's kind of going slow. Let's see.
Comma Arthur's.
Here it is. So here it is in Braille font, and then has the title centered at the top. It says Arthur's theme.
Comma Christopher, cross 1, Air 4, Jason, Poor.
And then it has a Christopher Cross arranged by Jason Poor.
Blank, comma violin.
And there's the violin.
Blank, question mark.
So anyway,
7 number ACB %.
That's Braille music when Jaws starts reading Braille music out loud. It's not pretty. But you can send this to your embosser, and you can learn it the way I learned most of the stuff that I studied, all the stuff that I studied to get my degree, and so many other people have. You know, you just read the dots on the page. But you can use the interactive features of Lime to play it back in tempo and listen as you're reading that hard copy to aid your memory, because we do memorize music. Unless you're singing it, you pretty much do have to memorize it. But again, you're memorizing the information on the page, not just the sound of so-and-so who played it for you on tape or on a digital recording these days on your iPod or whatever, your iPhone. So yeah, a lot of people learn music using the talking score feature, using the Braille, the interactive Braille with your Braille display, using hard copy Braille. And as you can see, you can use a few of those modalities simultaneously. So if you want to hear JAWS describe each note as you arrow through, as you're feeling the Braille music, you can mix and match. In fact, we have a related product for people with low vision called Lime Lighter that magnifies the music up to a zoom level of 10x, which isn't literally 10 times, but almost 10 times standard size. So yeah, a lot of people learn their band parts, their orchestra parts, and study, even analyze harmonic analysis for something like that Mozart, where your teacher might say, I want you to, at every cadence, I want you to put the Roman numeral, like, all right, well, we're in the key of, G minor. So, you know, put a Roman 1 for the G minor cadence and a 5 for the D dominant. And I don't want to get too techy, but anyway, there are just a lot of ways you can use the software, and learning music is probably the primary thing people do with it.
Great. What devices sync with these programs?
Well, there are hardware peripherals that that help. They're not absolutely necessary. In other words, you could run Lime on your laptop. You could hear the internal sounds with the internal MIDI function of your computer, and you could hear your screen reader read to you. But I have a musical keyboard that I've been using. It is a piano style keyboard. You can connect that by USB. That makes it easier to play notes in. You can use a Braille display like your good old Q Braille. Other hardware would be a flatbed scanner if you're going to scan music with the SharpEye program that comes with it, Music OCR. And of course, a Braille embosser is handy to have if you want to make a hard copy.
All right, great. Next question is from Tina. You're allowed to talk, Tina. Go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi there. This is Tina Ackermanis from Colorado, and this has been a super interesting presentation. So thank you guys so much for putting this on. My hope is that whenever we have a in-person convention in the next year or two, or whenever that'll be, it'd be super fun to see this hooked up to a Canute too. One of those 9-line Braille displays. That'd be awesome. So I'm kind of looking forward to that somewhere down the road in the future, because that would just be fantastic.
Yeah. Well, you know, the Canute's a little bit different animal than the conventional single line Braille display, but we have been playing with it and getting some good results. So, you know, kind of watch this space a little bit. But it's nice to hear.
Yeah, that'd be.
Tina, it's nice.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a long time. Yeah, I haven't been to the convention in a good long time, but still over here.
Yearning for ordinary time, so we can actually all be in the same room at the same time without killing each other. You know, that kind of thing.
Exactly. That's right. But I'm actually working over here at the Division of Oak Rehab, and so I'm every once in a while I get somebody who's interested in Braille music, and I can steer them in the right direction.
Well, thank you. Well, that's wonderful. So that was what you wanted to talk about, Canute, or did you have a question to follow?
No, that's pretty much it. I just love my Q Braille, so and it's really fascinating to see what you guys are doing with it over there. So nice. It's just a fun times.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad you were able to tune in.
Yeah, me too. This was great. Thanks.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for that. Next question. Where would you get a music XML file?
Well, I got this one from a site called MuseScore, MuseScore, I believe. But maybe the fastest way is to type into your favorite search engine, type the song title and type music XML. There are more and more XML on the net, but one warning. Somebody decided that the best way to store music XML files was in a compressed format, which is okay, but they decided to call the compressed format .mxl, which is really confusing because the files you want are .xml. So real quick, you can just rename .mxl to .zip and then do with .zip as you usually do, you know, extract all the stuff out, and what you extract is a .xml. But, you know, it's caused more consternation and confusion for a lot of people who say, well, what am I doing wrong? Every time I try to bring this into Lime, it doesn't like it. That's because it's compressed as MXL. So, yeah. So the other cool thing about Music XML is that the more and more composers and arrangers are using programs like Finale, Sibelius, MuseScore, even Lime to do what they do, to create their music. And so we've had customers contact publishers and say, I'm visually impaired. I bought, you know, I bought a copy of your Sonata so-and-so, but is there any way it's on a hard drive somewhere and can be exported to Music XML? And sometimes if you talk to enough people, they'll do it for you and send it to you. And that's wonderful because it not only imports in seconds and becomes accessible, you also know that it was proofread because it was published. And so if the notes and rhythms were right in the original, they're going to be right when you pull them into line. And that's just another kind of warning, mileage may vary kind of thing, because a lot of the XML, no, not a lot, but I mean, some of it at least that's uploaded to the net is uploaded by volunteers who want to share with you, but they may not have been as careful as they should have been, maybe to fix scanning errors or just proofread their work. So, you know, we had someone send us a Brahms intermezzo and Lime just did not do well with it. So then our Lime developer got a very smart idea and decided to pull it into MuseScore. And MuseScore didn't do well with it. And then we decided to pull it into Sibelius, and Sibelius didn't like it. So, you know, it's not always the software. Sometimes the content is just not good.
All right, thank you very much for that. All right, up next, we have Efron, or Irfan, I'm sorry. Irfan, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hey, Irfan. Hello, hello. I think you want Alt-A.
Somehow I'm not.
There you
There
are.
you go.
Oh,
There you are.
can you hear me?
Yep, you're
Yeah.
with us now.
Okay, so Bill, I just want to thank you for answering the question regarding the turning the mic metronome click on or off. I'm glad you talked the important thing regarding the music XML, and my main question that I would want to talk about today is you know, when things that are in the MXL format instead of XML, which is a pretty confusing thing. Although I want to let you know that in my computer, when I do that, it doesn't show me the extension format. Like I had the XML file, and I'm trying to rename it to zip, as you said, but I did press F2, and it does not showing the extension. So how would I do that to show it?
Well, be careful. You may be trying to rename the folder. You may need to hit enter and go into the folder, and then you'll find the actual XML or MXL or whatever. Otherwise, I really can't explain it. I know in Windows, by default, Windows hides extensions, and you have to go into the folder options of Windows, and there's a view menu, and you can uncheck that thing that says hide extensions for known file types. And if you uncheck it, then your screen reader will say not just Arthur theme, it'll say Arthur's theme.xml or .mxl or .zip or whatever it is. So that's just one thing, just a general tip for Windows users. You want to uncheck that option. Apparently for sighted guys, you can see if it's a Lime file, there's a funny little Lime, and you don't have to know it's .lim. And maybe there are other little visual cues for zip files and so forth. So make sure that when you go into the folder options and then Alt-V for view, tab through there, there's one thing that says hide extensions for known file types. It's going to be checked by default. Uncheck it, click on apply and OK, and that might help.
Okay, and for the shift and escape key that you demonstrated, is that just for muting the JAWS description note?
Yes, we call that the silencio feature. You're not unloading JAWS, you're just muting the speech when when you press the arrow key to go to the next note. Typically you'll hear the sound of the note and you'll hear JAWS describe it, or NVDA or narrator, whatever you're using. When you press the shift escape and go into silencio, then you just hear the notes and you can kind of skim around faster, find where you want to go, then maybe turn the speech back on when you're ready. I just want to share with the audience that Irfan is one of those post-secondary smart music students, and he's doing well out there in school in Washington State studying music, and he's integrated the use of our software into his studies. So congrats to you, Irfan, and good to hear your voice.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm going to Cornish and I'm using that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and
I appreciate you.
Very supportive. Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I should say that Irfan's school, Cornish College, has been extremely supportive of him. And for those of you who are thinking about going to school for music after high school, yeah, you want to talk to the music people at that college when you're checking them out, but also make sure you talk to the disability services people and talk about how you're going to get materials. Because in my work over the last 25 years or so, I have talked to a lot of different people at different schools around the country and in other countries. And I can tell you that it's not always as supportive as it is for lucky guys like Irfan. So when you're doing your homework and shopping around for a school, just that you really want to have that discussion.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for the question, Irfan. All right. Next question is how much does Goodfeel cost?
Okay, Goodfeel is a suite of software. When you order Goodfeel, you get Goodfeel and you get Lime and you get SharpEye and you get the features we call Lime Aloud to make it talk. So if you want to buy a traditional perpetual license, the cost is $1,595. You can spend about half of that if you want to subscribe to the software for a year, and then you got to renew for a little less than that for the next year. So it really depends on your situation. There's also a product we call Goodfeel Lite. That's $995. It does everything that Goodfeel does, but you're limited to one kind of Braille. Unlike print music, Braille music has different formats depending on whether it's keyboard or vocal or single line instrumental like a flute part. So when you get Goodfeel Lite, it does everything you just saw, but the Braille it creates is just the thing you say, well, I need vocal music. So if you try to transcribe a piano piece, Goodfeel Lite will say, hey, you have the vocal edition. I'm just going to revert to demo mode, show you the first 10 measures and stop. So, if you're on a budget, that's about 40% off the price there, and you get a lot for it. Then there's a product called Lime Aloud that has no Braille at all for people who cannot read Braille music or don't want to read Braille music, but they want to use the talking score features and all the features you saw on how to read and write and scan music. You can get all that, and that's $749. And there are also subscription options for those that are a bit cheaper. So if you go to dancingdots.com, you can find a lot of that. There's also an email link. You can click on that. I get those emails, and we can talk offline a little more about that if you want.
All right, thank you for that. Up next, Sam, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hi, all right, can you all hear me?
Yeah, how you doing, Sam?
Pretty good. I'm pretty excited about getting Goodfeel here in the next few weeks.
Fantastic. I got that good news earlier. Congrats. And I should tell everybody, Sam and I met up when he was tearing up the tracks at the Braille Challenge out there in Missouri a couple months ago when we were all allowed to be in the same place at the same time. So I got to meet up with Sam, and he's one of these guys who's very serious about music. And you're planning on getting to music school. Is that your?
Yes, I will be attending Missouri State next year, and I also ordered I was going to try and teach myself how to read Braille music because you guys have a lot of training material. So I'm like, all right, let's learn this because why not?
Yeah, great. Oh, all right. So it's definitely Missouri State. Okay.
Yes. My question was, I know a lot of MIDI synthesizers now will have like multiple drum kits other than the standard kit. Like there might be an orchestral kit or a jazz kit. Is it possible for Lime to recognize? Because I know a lot of them is based on like a program, like a MIDI program.
It depends on the architecture of the synthesizer. Essentially, Lime is limited to general MIDI banks.
Okay.
So if you can swap in a different general MIDI bank, then Lime will be responsive. But if not, it will just get the default kit.
Yeah, because I was trying that on one of the templates, and I was typing in 48 for the orchestral kit, but it just kept staying on the standard kit. So I was a little bit confused on that.
Yeah, there are a lot of things we'd like to do with Lime. And by the way, Lime is our program now. We made a deal with the original author, Dr. Lippold-Haken. And so it is our program. And so the good news there is that each successive version of Lime will at least be as accessible as the last, probably more. Because we all know about horror stories where something was working great with version 2 of program XYZ, and then the manufacturer came out with version 3 of XYZ, and most of the access got broken. That's not going to happen with Lime. But we're a pretty small but mighty company. I've never had more than 5 people in my little company. Right now we have 4. And so we have wonderful developers, but we just have 2 of them. And we don't have the kind of bench strength to do some of the stuff I'd like to do, because I'd really like to get Lime to play what are they called, VST libraries. And, there are a lot of nice sounds out there. We have discovered something called Omni Midi. We were using something called Bass Midi, and we found out just recently, our Lime developer tipped me off that it's actually been discontinued and not recommended. It's a bit unstable with Windows 10. I was having some of my own problems. So, but Omni Midi is what's called a sound font. It triggers sound font libraries, and the sounds are a lot nicer than the Microsoft Wavetable, very basic soft.
Anything's better than the Microsoft Wavetable.
Yeah, anything would be better, right? So, yeah, check out Omni Midi. I'll be posting about that to our list. I just this morning installed it, and it's very stable so far.
Awesome.
Yeah. Great. All right. Well, thanks for that question. Do we have any other questioners?
Yep. We still have quite a few to get through. So let's go.
All right. Well, let's do it. Okay.
All right. What type of software is necessary to interface the QBraille with your equipment?
Nothing special. Basically, maybe Earl can address this. You just install a driver, right?
Yeah, and not even if you're using the Bluetooth, but yes, there is a HIMS driver. It's the same driver that's been used for a long time for a lot of the HIMS products dating back to the Sync Braille, so we remember that. So the Braille Sense, all of the Braille Sense models and the QBraille use the same HIMS driver, and I think there's a different driver for like people with JAWS older than version 14 or something like that. So you just need that, and you know, if and of course a Goodfeel and Lime is, those are basically JAWS scripts, right? So you do need the JAWS screen reader to work with it, correct?
If you want the Braille,
Right.
we've basically gone away from the scripts for the speech side. It's pretty much self-voicing. When you use it with narrator or an NVDA, it's actually using the sappy speech in your computer.
There you go. Just a screen reader, the driver, if you're connecting with USB with your Q Braille, and the Goodfeel suite.
Blank.
All right, up next,
All
somebody wrote.
They're underline S under.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Next was a comment. I really need to know how to start with a print music document and end up with a Braille document.
Okay, well, let me give you the quick rundown on that. If you start with a print document, you, as I said earlier, if you're really lucky, you can find the person who printed it, and they may have printed it out of a notation program. And you can say to them, instead of clicking where it says print, could you please click where it says export to XML? If they do that for you, and a lot of schools, by the way, especially in college level, there's a lot of stuff on professors' hard drives that can be exported to XML. Then you simply run Lime, and you go to File Import XML, and you've got it. Unfortunately, that's not always going to happen. So your next option is more labor intensive, and that would be to take that hard copy print or convert that PDF digital score into a TIFF image, but basically bring it into SharpEye. And there are other music scanning programs like PhotoScore or SmartScore. Bring it into the music scanning program and do the music OCR. You want to scan it with SharpEye, you want to scan it as a grayscale or black and white image at 300 dots per inch, relatively low resolution. And if SharpEye says 0 rhythm errors and you play it back, pardon me, and it sounds good, wonderful. You can export it to XML, pull it into Lime, and you have access. You know, because from Lime to Goodfeel, you just launch Goodfeel and make the Braille version. So the path is basically the high level is SharpEye, export to Lime, launch Goodfeel, and make your Braille score. So, but the details of that is, you scan it in SharpEye, and SharpEye might say 1 rhythm error. It might say 10 rhythm errors. At that point, someone needs to fix those rhythm errors, and it's probably not, well, let me just say it won't be me, because I'm totally blind. I cannot see the screen. And I cannot see, more importantly, I cannot see what I scanned. So if it's telling me, hey, in measure 5, SharpEye knows you're in 3/4 time, but it says there are 5 beats in this measure. Which note is too long? Well, somebody who can see the original very quickly clicks and drags and turns those half notes into quarter notes, and it's all good. But I can't do that. So, it's not to cast any aspersions, as they say, on your level of independence. The fact is, we can't see, and to fix those things, you really need to see them. That's why I love Music XML, because you don't have to scan anything. It's already there. If it was right in print, it's right in Lime, it's right in Braille. But yeah, so once you clean everything up in SharpEye, you can export to Music XML from SharpEye. So let's say you're scanning, you're scanning Sonata ABC. You export it to sonataabc.xml. You close SharpEye, you run Lime, you go to File, Import XML. There you have it right in Lime. If you need the Braille, you click on the File menu of Lime and you choose Launch Goodfeel. And Goodfeel transcribes it automatically. So there's a flow to it. There are a few different components, but it will work. And again, we're going to post a a Zoom meeting we did with some talented people at Rutgers University. And we went into some detail in the scanning side of it. So check out Dancing Dot's YouTube page in the next couple days, and I'll get that up there.
All right, thank you. Great transition into the next question. Tom writes, I'm getting this software for my daughter to learn music Braille. Are there more tutorials like this to watch?
There will be. They're coming. One of the unexpected blessings of this not so great situation we're in as a country and a world is that it's forced a lot of us to get online and do things like these Zoom sessions. And I started doing a series a couple weeks ago that we're calling Play On, Don't Stop the Music. And I'll be uploading those too. I finally have the recordings. So yeah, we'll be putting more content on our own YouTube page. And I know our friends at HIMSS will be putting this up at least in maybe some edited format, I'm not sure, but they'll be putting it up on their own site. It's hims-inc.com/webinars. So you can see this again there if you want an encore.
We might trim to the beginning.
Yeah, we're gonna trim out that stuck note in the beginning.
All right. So when entering music into Lime using the Q Braille, can you type using Braille music notation?
No, we can't do 6-key entry into Lime. Again, that'd be a wonderful feature we would like to add. We are actually we're making improvements as we go along with Lime, but that comes under the category of a major development project, and we don't have the resources for that right now. We are talking to some people who do have resources and hoping that maybe in the next year or two, we can get a development contract and add some of that fun stuff that we'd like to do. But what you can do with your Q Braille is, well, let me back up and say that on a standard QWERTY keyboard, the home row keys, A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, etc., they map to the white keys on your piano from middle C up. And then above in W, E, T, Y, U, O, P, they become the black keys where you might expect them relative to the white keys. You can play one or more of those together and you can enter notes. On your Q Braille, it's not as intuitive because you can kind of put your hand on your home row and imagine playing white keys, although they don't feel like piano keys. That's why I like the hardware MIDI musical keyboard option. It's just more intuitive. But if you're really hardcore and you're stuck on a train and you can't use a real keyboard, musical keyboard, yeah, you can type, you can type the letter G and hear the pitch G. You can type the letter F and hear the pitch F. But then it kind of breaks down because you type the letter H to get the pitch we call A, and the letter J to get the pitch we call B. So it's a little bit of mental gymnastics to make it happen, but you can do it with your Q Braille keyboard, the Perkins keyboard.
Thanks. Tina, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
Actually, it's not so much of a question, but it's a resource. So I believe it's on Tuesday evening, this coming week, the NFB, what do they call themselves? The music division, whatever their thing is called. I saw an announcement that they're going to be doing a Braille music Zoom meeting to learn the basics of Braille music, and I believe it's sometime in the evening. You'd have to get with one of the lists of their virtual training things, and I'm sure they're floating around the web somewhere to find out about the Braille music presentation that they're going to be doing.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. That's really cool. And maybe I'll see if I can tune into that. The other thing I'll mention is that we do publish a series of courses that Sam was talking about. We also publish a short little book that I wrote with my friend Richard Taish called Who's Afraid of Braille Music? which teaches you some basics about Braille music, but it's mostly written to dispel some of the myths about Braille music, that it's so hard, it's so illogical, and it's, you know, it doesn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. And we wrote it mainly for sighted people, but also for some blind people, but just for sighted musicians and parents to understand that no, it's not like rocket science. You can do this. It is a logical system, but you do have to kind of recalibrate your brain, because it's very easy visually to look at a print score and look at a page of text and say, oh, that's music, that's text. In Braille music, it's not so easy because we have the same 6 dots, but those 64 patterns that you can make out of a 6-dot cell mean other things, even though they look identical. For example, the letter N, the dots for the letter literary N, 1, 3, 4, 5, happen to be the dots for a half note C, or do, as we might say. One of the points we make in Who's Afraid of Braille Music is Louis Braille did not speak English that we know of. He certainly spoke French, and to this day, they don't call that notes, the notes C, D, E, F, G, they call them do, re, mi, fa, sol. And so anyway, I could go on, but thank you for sharing that about the Braille music. There is, as a lot of you know, a real serious lack of expertise when it comes to teaching Braille music. And one reason that a lot of students don't get to learn Braille music is not because maybe they don't want to learn, it's because they literally may not know there is a Braille music system, or their teachers know about it, but they're not qualified or don't feel qualified to teach it. So we do a lot of one-on-one training in Braille music, sometimes with a school, contract with a school district. And we try to publish things like Who's Afraid and Richard's other series, An Introduction to Music for the Blind Student, to kind of address that shortage of teaching expertise.
Tina, did you have another question?
Yeah. Am I muted or not?
No, you're not muted. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I didn't realize. So I was wondering, sometime back when I was in the process of learning Braille music, I got a hold of a little 1-volume Braille book that was written by Betty Krolik. Does anybody know who has that around anymore?
I am not sure, but you can check to see with the music section of the National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped. Shout out to them, especially Juliet Appold, their recent head of the section. She's a great advocate for Braille music and for getting materials. I think they may have it in their collection. We do not have it.
Okay, because it was a neat little, just a 1-volume book that just took you through the basics of eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, whole notes, rest. And yeah. I think that was pretty much about it, but it was a super good starting off point.
It's a really good book, and it was written by a wonderful lady, God rest her soul, Betty Krolik, who was a super help to us when we started.
Oh my God, she transcribed for at least 30 years, right? Probably.
Yes, and
gosh.
I was sitting in my office. This is before we just had a very simple prototype. One day my phone rang. She said, "Hello, this is Mrs. Krolik." And I had heard of Betty Krolik since I was 9 years old. And
wow.
She was giving me a call, and it was so exciting. And she said, "I heard you're making Braille music software. I'd love to help." And she really did. And she was great. When we were good, she let us know. When we messed up, she let us know. And she just had that great Midwestern directness about her. But yeah, her book was wonderful. The reason why we wrote Who's Afraid of Braille Music, again, was not so much to show you the basics of Braille music, was to explain that, a lot of people have this idea it's too hard. Where did it come from? Why is it different than literary Braille? All that. And then Richard and Betty were good friends as well, Richard Tage. And he wrote his series because Betty's book is wonderful, but it's it's intentionally brief. It doesn't have a
Yeah,
lot.
it's tiny. Yeah, it's just
Doesn't
like a
have a
little
lot.
reference, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a reference book, and it's wonderful for what it does. In fact, I was in a presentation once with Betty back in 1998 or something at I think it was a California Transcribers Conference. And she had been asked to talk about Braille music. And she reached a point where she said, I'll come and do it, but I won't do it unless I have a young Braille reader. And she got this young girl, maybe 5th or 6th grade, who didn't know, she knew literary Braille, did not know Braille music, and Betty taught her in front of the group. And it was brilliant. It was
Wow.
Yeah. Just taught her in about 40 minutes. And
That's amazing.
Reading basic scales and notes and durations. So anyway.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. Couldn't
I had the fortunate chance of meeting her a couple times, and she was just wonderful.
Yeah, and she deservedly so got all kinds of awards from the American Foundation for the Blind and other organizations. Very simple, humble person. I was with her at the World Blind Union meeting in Switzerland when she announced her retirement. So after lunch, there was a little presentation. We gave her some flowers, little gifts and this and that. And, she stood up to say a few words, and it wasn't much longer than this. She said, "Thank you so much. What I've done is because I wanted to do it." And she sat down.
Oh, wow.
Just a great moment.
But I think she was the one that initially helped standardize the music Braille across all sorts of different countries, I think.
Yeah, she was able to corral people from 20-some countries who would get into very heated arguments about why their version of the treble clef sign was better than the American version or whatever. And Betty was able, in her very diplomatic, quiet way, to get everybody to say, well, let's at least agree on the signs that we're going to use when we want clefs or whatever it was. We don't have to agree yet on the formats. And that what came out of that was a manual in 1997 called the New International Manual for Braille Music, which is still a very helpful reference book.
All right, great. Thank you very much for that, Tina. All right, up next, Pamela. Go ahead and unmute yourself and then ask your question.
If you use Alt-A, that's what I don't know.
Hi, this is Pam Durant from Vermont. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Pam. How are you?
I'm good. I have a quick question, and also I remember being at that presentation, and you're right, it was very wonderfully done. And the book, name of the book is How to Learn Braille Music. And I know that National Braille Press at one time may have done it, Braille list, but I'm not sure. I'm not for sure about that, but.
Yeah, how to read Braille music by
Yeah, how to read Braille music. That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that National Braille Press had done it.
Yep.
Now my question is, I've had this problem since I really don't have a computer online right now, and I'm using my iPhone. I'm using my iPhone to get online, and I also use a Braille Sense U2, and I'm considering maybe that's the reason I got onto the seminar was because I'm thinking about maybe you getting that Q Braille because I had read about it before, and
Okay.
but my question is, how would a person, if they were not able to download from Braille from their Braille Sense? Let's say my Braille Sense isn't working, and I've had a problem with trying to figure out how do I go onto my phone on Bard and get Braille music, and I have not been able to figure that out.
Okay, well, I know it's doable. Bard, if you search, there's a keyword for music scores, and they have a number of them in BRF format.
Right,
now,
I understand. Oh, I'm sorry, I understand that, but I haven't been able to find that particular thing when I go to the Bard app on the phone. And
Okay,
so
maybe
that's what I was.
one of the guys from HIMSS could enlighten us, because I've never actually done it with an iPhone. Do you guys know how to do it?
Earl, this one might be for you.
Yes, I can safely say that I've not downloaded music from Bard on the iPhone. I've only used it for audio books.
Okay.
So it's something that we would have to look into, and we could.
Yeah, it was just my question, because sometimes my Braille sense isn't always working, and I was wondering how I might do it. I mean, because I had come across that situation before and I wasn't sure. But
Well,
hey,
it's a little geeky, but I know this, like if I download a file from an email message that I want to look at on my computer, I actually click on the share option and email it to myself. So
no, I've done that before too. So, but but that wasn't because when you go on the app, it's you can find audiobooks, and you have, you know, certain you just are not able to. I don't think, maybe you are. I was just wondering. And then so with the Q Braille, it makes it more. My question really quick about the Q Braille for these people at HIMSS is how much storage? I mean, would you use some type of a storage card to enable you so that you could actually use your machine alone for standalone?
Yes, and so the Q Braille comes with an SD card. I don't know, what are those SD cards, like 16 gig, Thomas? You can use a variety of SD cards, but you know, considering that BR files are just very, very small text files, that's literally millions of books that you can fit on an SD card.
That's great. Okay, yeah, I'm in a situation where I have to sit in front of a group of people like a church and find a hymn really quick, and you know, the name of a hymn and what number it is, and how many flats and sharps and how many verses and all that stuff. And so that's what I was, you know, kind of wondering whether I could do that with the Q Braille. So I think I could. So
the wonderful thing is that if you have the Goodfeel software and you save it as a GF file, you can actually just, even with the Q Braille connected by USB, you can go out to your main menu and put it into mass storage mode, and just take those files that you download to your computer, or yeah, I mean, you said you didn't have a computer right now, right?
I don't have one online. Yeah, so.
But it's nice that you can transfer those if you're rendering those using Goodfeel, or if you're composing, or wherever you're getting the material from. It's possible to just transfer it from a computer onto the Q Braille and then have a portable version of it. So when you're sitting
right, I understand.
Choir,
yeah,
I understand. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.
Nice to hear from you again. Good to talk to you.
All right. So Mike Tyndall, go ahead and did you want to add something to that?
I did. Can you hear me, Pam? Can you hear me, Thomas?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Hi, Pam. This is Mike Tyndall with HIMSS. It's been a while since I've done this, but what I do remember is that you download a BRF file from Bard. If you turn off your speech, because it's just going to be gobbledygook if it's on, so turn off your speech with a 3-finger double tap, and then if you go right and get into the body of, say, the text of the material that you're reading, you should be able to use your Braille display and hand through that text.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for adding that, Mike.
Good job, Bill. Earl, good job, guys.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Good to hear you.
Good to see you too, Bill.
All right. So next question. This is John Ryan, your dealer, Florida Vision Technology. Can you get network licenses for the software with the Q Braille?
If we're talking about the Goodfeel software,
your client connection is an image. Zoom. Empty. Mute my audio button.
Oops. If we're talking about our software, we have a 5-user license, but we don't have a network license per se. As far as Q Braille, I don't know. If there's kind of consideration for running it on a network.
Yeah, I think the question was regarding the software. Okay. Next question, can it control multiple MIDI devices?
Let me think about that. No, not simultaneously. The Lime software can accommodate one general MIDI bank. Now, of course, you have 16 MIDI channels. That's a good question. I know that I have this thing called Omni Midi. And maybe you can have more than one instance. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it can just do standard general MIDI, which gives you 128 different instrumental sounds. And you can assign those to any of 16 MIDI channels.
All right, thank you for that. Can you use Lime to read Braille music from Library of Congress to help a student be sure of their note recognition?
No, you would want to use your Q Braille for that, though. Pardon me. You can open up those files we were just talking about on the BARD system, or any BRF file. You could open up in your Q Braille in a standalone mode with the Notepad application. But the proofing part would be nice, but no, you cannot. You cannot do that with our software. I would love to have a back translator, but at the moment you can't pull in formatted Braille and turn it back into staff notation. We can only go the other way, turn the staff notation into Braille.
All right, thank you. Next question we've already kind of covered, but let's go ahead and cover it again. Can you use Goodfeel documents with other Braille note takers?
If they can, you can, but you have to do an extra step. You have to rename them from the .gf format that we developed to .brf. And they're very close cousins, but they're not identical. And so what I like about what HIMSS did was they're able to open .gf right away. You don't have to rename them to .brf. For other note takers or any software that expects BRF, that application probably will kind of go into denial and not even show you that you have a .gf on your SD card or what have you. So that's an advantage of the Q Braille and the Polaris, by the way. But aside from that, yeah, that if you rename, or I should say that every time Goodfeel, you launch Goodfeel, and it creates that formatted Braille.gf file, it puts it in a particular folder called Goodfeel Output. And you can go to Goodfeel Output, in Windows Explorer or whatever it's called now, File Explorer. And you can copy and rename any of those .gf to .brf and then bring it to your note taker and you're fine. But it's just one more thing to remember and to know and to do.
Great, thank you. How much can you do with Goodfeel on Polaris? Can you write musical Braille and convert it into print on the Polaris?
No, you can't. It would be a wonderful app. And if anybody has the money, I have the time. But at the moment, that's not something that we can do.
Great, okay. And then this is the final question in the Q&A chat. If you have any other questions, raise your hand or type them into the Q&A. David writes, what software would I need and what is the price for the whole package? I'm using a Casio keyboard and I'd like to use it. will that work with these software packages?
Yeah, if your Casio has a USB port on it, it's likely that you can connect it to a computer and Lime can recognize it. You may have to download a driver from the manufacturer. If it's the older kind that has just MIDI ports, these kind of flat, round little quarter-sized 5-pin connectors, you'll need a converter to go from MIDI to USB. And a lot depends on what you want to do. If you want to make Braille music, you would order a product called Goodfeel. You can see more about this on dancingdots.com. The Goodfeel suite has the component of Goodfeel for Braille music and Lime for print music. If you just want to print out what you play in, you don't need Goodfeel. You can get a product called Lime Aloud. They both come with the talking score feature and the ability to read and write scores in Lime. And they both come with a license for the Sharp-Eye Music OCR program. So really depends on what you want to do. But as far as interfacing your keyboard, it should be doable.
All right, up next we have Jeanette. Jeanette, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. Hey, Jeanette.
Maybe that Alt-A will do it for you.
Yep.
If you're on a PC, yep.
We're unmuted. Just go ahead and talk.
Or maybe your mic's not on. Darn it.
Darn, we can't hear you, Jeanette.
All right, we're gonna go ahead. Jeanette, go ahead and keep on trying to talk. I'm gonna have Sam. Sam, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away.
All right, awesome. This is more of a compositional question, but I'll ask it here anyways. If I wanted to have, say, a score with a B-flat instrument, a concert-pitched instrument, and maybe another instrument, I'm assuming there's a way to make separate parts for that in Lime, so you can have like a B-flat, like that's transposed to B-flat and that kind of thing?
Yeah, Lime can transpose. And we even have some templates. There's a folder called Lime templates, and in there there's a folder called Transpose. And you can.
Oh, yeah, because I remember I had the 3/4. I was using that one, the B flat 3/4 template.
I do. No.
Are you unmuted now? Is that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh. Whew. Okay, I had a mute button on my microphone that I forgot on my microphone that I forgot about. So a bunch of questions, but I'll try to be quick. In theory, I doubt that my piano teacher would ever go through correcting a document scanned. My first question is, do you think there are enough XML files scanned if I go to MuseScore that I could actually find those, download them, convert them, and use them?
Well, there's certainly a lot of XML files on MuseScore. The problem is, are they the pieces you want to learn?
Understood. But for now, that's a good start. Second question, my QBraille is not a QWERTY keyboard. I can connect to USB. Are you telling me if I connect to USB that I can input music as long as I'm using my QWERTY keyboard, or I cannot? I mean, my 6-dot keyboard, or I cannot?
You can with our Lime software. Yeah, I'm using the Perkins style 6-dot keyboard.
Okay.
When I was making that little tune for flute, I was definitely doing it all from my Perkins keyboard integrated with my QBraille.
And my final question is, you said that there is a possibility of doing the subscription program. How does that actually work?
It works because
I mean, like, what do you do? What would I do?
Well, basically, okay, if you buy the unlimited perpetual license,
Right.
You run a little program called the Dancing Dots Authorization Manager, generates a reference code. You send to us, use that to generate a unique license key. We send it back to you, and you are authorized for life. But we also have a feature that we can limit the number of days that it's active. So if you wanted to subscribe for a year, we would just make it for 365 days. And then on your anniversary, you wake up and, oh, darn it, my Goodfeel has reverted to demo mode. I guess I got to call and renew my subscription. So the good part for consumers and for schools too is that your startup cost is a lot lower. And especially for a school, it's good because once in a while we get a call from a school where they have a very, very low number of blind students and maybe only one wants to be in music. And they say, well, you know, if this kid quits the band, pardon me, or moves away, you know, we've just spent a lot of money for nothing.
Right.
So we said, well, how about if you subscribe for a year, if she comes back and wants to be in the band again, you just renew. And so, and schools like it because they can distribute the cost across a few years' budgets. On the other hand, a lot of times, budget processes being what they are, schools will say, well, this year we have the money, we're just going to buy it because we don't know about next year. But either way, whatever works for you. So for individual consumers, we do offer the subscription, and we do everything we can if that's just a big number for you to come up with at once. If it's an individual now, we don't do this for schools or agencies, but you know, we can make some terms with you. We can spread it out over 2 or 3 months or try to make it work.
And my final question for you, Bill, is there a way, say I scanned a music piece that I found that I knew I wanted, and there was a possibility that it was incorrect. Could I bypass Sharp Eyes rhythm error, convert it, braille it, go back to my teacher and say, this is the error. Can you just fix it in Sharp Eye?
Yes, you could do that, but if your teacher's willing to fix it in Sharp Eye, my recommendation would be to fix it in the first place and not create a score that's incorrect.
Sure, that would be great, but she doesn't live with me and she would have to have it, and I'm likely to be the one that will have the software. But if the bypass issue is possible, then you know, I could, in theory, convert it back to an XML file, fix it there, and I've still accomplished the same thing. Doable?
It's doable, and it really comes down to how severe is the error. If it's missing a note or the note's the wrong duration, that's
I can fix it in the Braille copy and just,
But sometimes there are more, let's say, global problems like Sharp Eye doesn't recognize the time signature correctly or the key signature, and then pretty much every measure is wrong. So it depends. But one idea here, just because we're using Zoom for this this meeting, you know, you can connect over Zoom. It's free for individuals, you know, one-on-one, and there is a way to have your teacher remotely access your computer. So if it's not convenient for the teacher to come to you or you to come to the teacher, but she's interested and available, she could actually run Sharp Eye from her house to yours and do some.
as long as I share my screen and get into the program.
Yeah, there's something called remote control feature, and you can voluntarily give her remote control, and she can come in and do whatever.
Do you have to have a pro license on Zoom in order to do that?
I don't think so. Do you guys know? I don't think so.
I'll find out. I'll do some research.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. All right. Sam, Did you have another question? And Sam, you are unmuted.
Oh, I'm still unmuted?
Yep. Did you still have another question or?
Oh, actually, yeah, I do. And this is just a personal quick question, but so I will be, whenever I actually get the full version of Goodfeel, I will be using the same machine that I did an evaluation period on, which, by the way, if you don't know, you can do an evaluation. Just figured that out there. So what all would I need to do to actually like fully authorize with the machine, with the same machine that I was using?
Okay, good question. Yeah, as Sam said, if you're interested, we do have a 15-day trial version. It's absolutely free. You can install it. We'll try to, if you like, we'll try to make a date with you to get on the phone and walk you through how it works. In Sam's case, he tried, he evaluated, he liked it. He is now ordering it. And so the good news for you, Sam, is all you have to do is run your Dancing Dots Authorization Manager and send us a new reference code. And this time when we process it, we'll send you back an unlimited authorization. So it's not going to time out after 15 days. It'll just run forever.
Okay, and then that'll be like, so like, when would I want to do that? Whenever you guys actually get.
As soon as you get notice that the order has been processed, you can do that. You can do that right now if you want. Just send it to me, and when the order goes through, because just got a call this morning about this. So this is pretty fresh news. But you don't have to uninstall anything.
Okay, cool.
Reinstall anything.
I figured not.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a pretty easy process. So.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. The hard work is done.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, Earl.
So do you hear this song here? This is a original composition by none other than Mr. Bill McCann. And I think that this is going to signify, do we have any more questions, Thomas?
We do.
How many more questions do we have? Because we've already gone about 2.5 hours here.
My dinner's getting cold, guys.
Yep, we've got one more.
Okay, so why don't we go ahead and do that one, and we're going to call it beyond that. So.
All right.
All right.
So, Veronica, you go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay, I'm a composer, and I've used Score and other programs in the past. I mean, I came back, started as a symphony musician using an Opticon to read my print music. So this is pretty, this is pretty cool. But when I print out a score, because I'm a string player, so a lot of my stuff is, has bowings and slurs. And one of the problems that I encounter when it prints out is that lines often run into each other, depending on where the beams are and how low things go. And does Lime do anything to protect against that, or watch whether your stabs are going to collide?
Lime has a cool feature called, what is it called? Format, systems dialog. You press Control U, and you can tell Lime, hey, pardon me, instead of 8 systems per page, let's make it 6. Or instead of 8 measures per system, let's make it 4. But you can have a lot of control over the page layout. But ultimately, you want to show it to a trusted sighted person to say, hey, that's too crowded, or that's really thin. You could put some more information on the page. So that's the short answer. It's pretty flexible, but I would not put music in front of anyone to have them sight read it that I hadn't shown it to. My wife is a professional musician, so she'll tell me if it looks good. Somebody that will know, but it doesn't have anything automated. If you tell it you want 20 systems per page, it'll do what it can do. It'll make it like teeny tiny notes. It's not readable. So it's very important to be aware of how the print layout goes. And the quickest way to do that is to show it to someone you trust before you ask some unsuspecting guy to sight read it or somebody to give you a grade and they can't read your score.
Do you have ways of entering bowing marks and slurs?
Yes, you can enter bowing marks in Lime and slurs and ties and accents and dynamics and lyrics and the whole thing. It's a very full-featured editor. Okay, all right, or all that. This sounds like my song there.
So this is your song. This is you on the trumpet, is it not? That's a real trumpet?
That's
there?
me blowing the horn. That's me blowing the trumpet.
Wow. Very cool. Say, hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a long one, but that's only because so many people had so many good questions. Bill, thank you so much for the time. And if anybody has any other questions for Bill, you can always reach him at info@dancingdots.com. The same dancingdots.com is the domain. So if you just want to go read up on all the things that are offered by Dancing Dots, feel free to. We're HIMSS Incorporated. Acronym stands for Human Information Management Systems, but what we do is Braille, and we're fully committed to the cause with the Q Braille and the Polaris products, Polaris Mini, Braille Sense Polaris, Braille Sense 32. And it's worth mentioning today, the first day of May 2020, kicks off a promotion where we're actually offering people a free hour of training and a free product maintenance agreement, which will extend your warranty beyond the manufacturer warranty by 1 year, which is an awesome value. So if you're interested in learning more about that, please go to hims-inc.com. Give us a call at 512-837-2000, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it. For now, everybody have a wonderful, blessed, and very safe weekend. Thank you so much for joining us.